Hey guys, how you doing here again? This is David Lucas back here again. Welcome back to my channel. Guys, with the recent release of the new Marvel movie out, Thor Love and Thunder, I decided, you know what, I'm just trying to get my little thoughts on it because, to be honest, I've been thinking about it a lot and I really have some thoughts on it, and I know I don't really post as much out here anymore, which I've been saying I want to do again, so here's just a, excuse to start posting on here again. So guys, without further ado, let's talk about Thor Love and Thunder. So basically my history with the Thor movies is that I actually really do like the first Thor movie. I think the first Thor movie is a very underrated movie. It doesn't really get looked on as much. It doesn't really get talked about as much, I feel like. It's actually pretty funny in its own right, too. A lot of people complain and say that the tone shift from the first Thor movie to Thor Ragnarok, when I completely disagree on that, because I feel like in the first Thor movie, there's like a lot of actually really funny comedy in there.
This drink, I like it.
I know, it's great, right?
Another!
That's not really talked about as much, but is in there, and it translates perfectly to the other Thor movies, I feel like, too. Thor 2, Dark World, yeah, probably my least favorite MCU movie, I gotta say. It still is there as my least favorite. It's just a complete boring, lifeless movie that just feels hollow and just... It just feels like there's nothing nothing in there with that movie at all. And going into Thor Ragnarok, which is a new director, Taika Waititi took over the reins for it, I gotta say is probably my favorite Thor movie so far. It is Thor Ragnarok. It's so good. It mixes in with comedy, with good storytelling, with good action, with actually drama and darkness. Like, it is really funny, but at the same time, some of the most darkest things happen in that movie. There's some of the most darkest things in almost any Marvel movie happen in that movie, with all the comedy that it has, with all the good story that it has with Thor and what he's going through, his journey, and then Hela as a villain, his sister, and then what happens to Thor's dad, and Loki even in that movie too. Everything about that movie, it is up there as like my top 5 best MCU movies to date. Like, I absolutely love Thor Ragnarok. Going on to Thor Love and Thunder, this is a Thor movie that I am very mixed on. Now, if you guys just tell what I just said with all the other Thor movies, I am very straightforward with all my opinions and how I feel about those movies. I like the first one, don't really like the second, love the third. But this one is something that has a very mixed bag of it. Now, where this movie does succeed at, and where some of the good things about Thor Love and Thunder, is starting out with the main villain. The main villain of Gorr is something that I gotta point out that I love completely, because when the movie first started, and the first scene that we get of Gorr coming in this movie with his daughter, and then his daughter dying, and him talking to the gods, and seeing how the gods really are, and then getting the sword and all that, it really was a good opening, and I love what the story that they did with Gorr in here. I really like what they had in here. I love Christian Bale's performance as Gorr. It's actually pretty frightening at times. There are times when he's in the shadows and walking, where I'm like, damn, this is actually scary. Like, he almost looks like the devil or something. Like he's actually frightening in there. Something else too that I really liked about this was Natalie Portman as, the mighty Thor. I love what they did with her. I love this. Probably, in my opinion, the best use of Natalie Portman so far in any of the Thor movies. I think is the best use of her so far. Like, I really love what they did with her. I love Natalie Portman's performance in here and kind of how she was as Thor and all that. I thought they did a really good job as her. Of course, Chris Hemsworth too. I gotta say, I really love what Chris Hemsworth was in here, and I really liked him in here, and I liked how he portrays Thor. I just love Chris Hemsworth as Thor. Chris Hemsworth as Thor is up there as one of the best, castings of any movie, I feel like, of any comic book character. Chris Hemsworth is up there as one of the best castings, definitely. I gotta say, some of the comedy here, when it does hit good, when a comedy hits good in here, it's actually pretty good, and I do enjoy it. Like, I know a lot of people don't like it, but I actually laughed every single time they had that screaming ghost thing. I thought that shit was funny as fuck. Even Zeus too, when we finally see Zeus, that stuff was hilarious in there. Like, some of the stuff in here was really fun, and that is something that really works in this movie. You're never bored throughout this movie. You're never kind of like waiting for this movie to end. You're never miserable watching this movie at all. You're having a fun time watching it. It is a good time, and you don't be really sad or angry throughout this movie at all. Where the movie does start to differ at for me is that it doesn't really feel like this movie at all really has necessarily a plot. And even though, too, and I gotta say, even though I do like the comedy in here, there are times where I feel like the comedy in this movie does overlap the overall story and takes the reign of what should be going on. Like, I feel like within Thor Ragnarok, we had comedy, but at the same time it was balanced very perfectly with the drama that was going on with it, and with the characters, and also too with the character stories and what we were going with the characters, with Thor himself, with Hela, with Loki, even Valkyrie. Valkyrie had a very good story out throughout the whole Thor movie, and even Hulk did too. And in this one, it feels like every time they start to get somewhere in a character story, they stop and then they go right to comedy, and then kind of that story gets forgotten and kind of that arc gets forgotten. And that's something that I found about this movie, that no one really has a complete arc, no one really has a complete story in this movie. There are stories that are started out in here that are really cool. Every actor in here is awesome. Valkyrie's awesome, you know, Natalie Portman as Jane is awesome, and Chris Hemsworth as Thor. Korg is awesome in here too. And the Guardians are fun in here too. When you actually do see the Guardians in here, the Guardians are in here for like 3 minutes.
He was a god. After saving planet Earth for the 500th time, Thor set off
pretty much in the very beginning, and then they're gone for the entire movie. And they never even come back even at the end. It's almost like they're completely forgotten, but yet they were so heavily advertised in this movie. You know what I mean? But they were pretty much just a cameo. That's all they were. And stuff like that, even especially with Jane with her cancer, and Jane with her story, and when we start seeing about Jane's upbringing and stuff like that, it gets talked about but very forgotten and gets replaced with comedy. And that's where the comedy starts to get starts to get bad within this, where you're like, this is a little bit too much comedy going on in here. Going the same with Gore, like they had some really good stuff with Christian Bale as the Gore in here going in, and but it didn't really feel like they completed it. Like, it didn't feel like they spent enough time on it. This movie too is probably one of the shortest, I think, MCU movies. I think they said is the shortest one, if not the shortest. I feel like it's really felt in here, and as you know, some movies are too long, some movies can be too short. And this one, I wish maybe they would have added like 10 more minutes, 15 more minutes onto it maybe. You know what I mean? Just to make it so we can expand more on these characters and more on their goals and journey, and just get more into the characters themselves, because we did that a lot with Valkyrie and Hela and even Korg a little bit in the Thor Ragnarok. But we didn't really do that with anybody in here, and when those stuff do happen, it is very rushed and very forgotten and just kind of left there to the side. And you're like, alright. So guys, at the end of the day, I didn't really hate Thor Love and Thunder, but I didn't really love it. It was just an okay, fun movie that if you want to just have some popcorn to sit down and have kind of like a good laugh, this is it. This is that. This is a straight up comedy movie, and it's not bad, it's not directed horribly, it's not made horribly, it's just nothing really special about it. Even the plot itself kind of feels like it is a side plot of what you would see like in a movie of like Thor going on for like a quick 5-minute side plot journey. And that's what that whole entire plot of this movie feels like. It feels like just a side journey, which is fun and enjoyable, but at the same time doesn't feel like a complete, real, actual story to get into and interesting, like how Thor Ragnarok was. Overall scoring of what I have to give Thor Love and Thunder, guys, is a 6 out of 10, guys. A 6 out of 10, maybe jumping up there a little bit, 6.5 maybe on a rewatch, because it was, again, a fun movie to watch that I did enjoy, just didn't really love, or nothing really special about it that makes me think about it all night long. And my overall ranking of the Thor movies now, of the Thor movies that we have, is going to have to go to Thor Ragnarok as number 1, because like I said, that's like my top 5 best MCU movies. Thor 1 right there, because I do really enjoy Thor 1, and I think the first Thor movie is a very enjoyable and is a kind of underrated comic book movie that has a lot to it. Then Thor Love and Thunder, which I enjoyed, didn't really love. I do have problems with it. There is funness about it. It is fun, but that's really all that it is fun. There's nothing really to it. And then you get Thor Dark World, that is just is a boring, hollow movie that just there's nothing special about it at all. Nothing about that movie makes you want to watch it at all. So guys, those are basically my thoughts on Thor Love and Thunder and all the Thor movies together, pretty much. Tell me what you guys think of it. Let me know down in the comment section below, and let me know your guys' thoughts on all the Thor movies and Thor Love and Thunder, especially since we're talking about it. Curious to see what the people think about it, because so far I've heard a lot of mixed reviews. I heard some people say that it's like their least favorite Thor movie ever. I heard some people say like me that's right kind of in the middle where it's okay. And then I heard some people say that that this is actually maybe their favorite Thor movie, which is very surprising to me, but hey, we all have our opinion. Let me know down in the comment section below, guys. Let me know your thoughts on Thor, Love, and Thunder. I always like to know your guys' thoughts, and I always respond to all the comments on there. Sometimes it takes me a little bit, because sometimes, I'm just busy with life, but I do eventually respond to everyone's comments on there, don't worry. And if you guys like this video, make sure you give it a like and subscribe to my channel, because all that helps, especially the liking and subscribing. It helps out this channel growing, and we are growing. We're almost there at 100 subscribers, which I'm really, excited about. So help me get up there, guys. It's a good goal for me. Of course, guys, until next time.
And flick.
Oh.
Flick too hard, damn it!